What's going on, guys? It's Hank here, and yeah, today I'm going to be showing you guys a game that I got with Reverb. I was just on the OU ladder. I don't really know who Reverb is, but apparently he's a pretty big deal in the Smogon community because the second we went into our game, 1 million people joined, so that was kind of intimidating. I'm not super familiar with OU or even just Pokemon in general, but regardless, it was a very good game, and yeah. Before I talk to you guys about team preview, I just want to point out the fact that I did get this team from a Joey PokeaimMD video. So, if by some miracle you do not already know who Joey Pokeaim is, definitely check him out. He's a really cool guy. But yeah, anyways, right off the bat from team preview, I noticed that his team is very weak to Mega Metagross. Mega Gardevoir has a very high likelihood of dying to a Bullet Punch. Weavile, again, also has a very high likelihood of dying to a Bullet Punch, and it definitely dies after one Life Orb hit. Keldeo dies to Zen Headbutt, Jirachi dies to Earthquake, and Latios dies to Meteor Mash plus Bullet Punch. So really the only one thing that's stopping my Mega Metagross sweep is his Landorus, which, just judging from his team, definitely looks like a defensive Landorus Stealth Rock setter. And also, of course, weakening the Latios and weakening the Jirachi would be nice as well. But yeah, so right off the bat, knowing that, I kind of want to just open up with my Fat Mew because it does well against really everything that's stopping my Mega Metagross sweep. And just judging by, this guy's standing within the community, I'm pretty sure he recognized the fact that my Mega Metagross had great lead matchups versus the majority of his team, and I would greatly benefit from getting a free Mega Evolution early. So I kind of figured he would want to lead with Landorus to stop that. And you'll see that instead he actually leads with this Jirachi. Again, that's fine because this is a Spadef Fat Mew, so I know that I can tank any one of his hits, and again, it does look like he's Scarf Jirachi. So I know that I can tank any one of his hits and freely Will-O-Wisp, which crippling his Jirachi would be very helpful for my Mega Metagross sweep as well. But unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but he ends up U-turning, which is fine. And he goes right into his Landorus, which I was kind of surprised about, but turns out he had a Lumberry, which is all good stuff. And I'm really surprised to see that he does EQ here, risking his Landorus, because if I had burned that Landorus, unfortunately, of course, Will-O-Wisp, Will-O-Mist, so sick life for me. I was kind of definitely very upset about that, but that's the game we play, I guess. But yeah, I mean, had I landed that burn off, I would have been in a very solid positioning. I would have been in a very solid position. Getting that residual damage off on his Landorus would have been great, and it also ensures that my Mega Metagross can tank any hit from the Landorus, even after a few residual hits from whatever. But regardless, ends up not working out in my favor, and I quickly switch into my own Landorus, expecting the EQ to come out. I mean, regardless, I'm pretty sure my Landorus walls his Landorus pretty well. Over here, we just trade rocks, which is fine. And here I find out that he's most likely faster than me, so, he probably wasn't fully invested in defense. He looks like, I don't know, defensive, speedy, SD Landorus, which is fine, I guess. I mean, initially, I kind of feared him being Dual Dance, but Dual Dance Landorus wouldn't really have been able to do anything versus my own Landorus anyways, and I don't really know why he would SD versus my Landorus if he was Mono Ground. So, yeah, I mean, that was probably an unwarranted fear, but regardless, I can freely U-turn here into my Keldeo, and I just click Specs Scald. I didn't really expect him to go into his Latios. I kind of expected him to go into his own Keldeo, but you know what? It's fine. It worked out for him. And over here, he clicks HP Fire, presumably expecting me to go into my Mega Metagross. And the thing with this Hoopa Unbound is that it is Assault Vest, so I have a very high likelihood of tanking 2 Draco Meteors after Stealth Rock's damage. But of course, that ended up not coming into play because he clicked Hidden Power instead of Draco Meteor. Regardless, I do tank his Draco Meteor hit and just click Hyperspace Fury right here. And yeah, I mean, at this point, Hoopa Unbound has really done its job. It doesn't really check anything else on his team, especially at that HP. So I let his Scarf Jirachi get the U-turn off so I can get the switch initiative. And at this point, his Keldeo is looking kind of scary. I don't really know what I have for it that like really threatens it quite a bit. So instead I decided to go into my Kyurem and just click Fusion Bolt. And he, accurately predicts that and goes out into his own Landorus. But again, at this point, I'm not really fearing the Landorus as an offensive presence because I do have my own Landorus, which at this point, I 100% know walls his own Landorus quite well. And he just clicks Earthquake here, which is fine. And here, I think this is like when he revealed the Stone Edge. I'm pretty sure that's the first time he clicked Stone Edge this game. So at that point, it just solidified the fact that he was not Dual Dance, which means that I could definitely be a bit more free with my Landorus. Before, I was a bit hesitant to constantly bring it in versus his Jirachi because I did not want to get swept by Dual Dance Landorus. But at this point, again, I realized that he wasn't, so I was just in a much better position, I felt. And again, I can U-turn here safely into my own Keldeo and just click Spec Scald. Over here, I don't want to risk a Speed Tie. I mean, honestly, I had no reason to risk a Speed Tie because he can do much more damage to me than I can do to him. And yeah, so instead I just sack off my Mew here because Fat Mew really doesn't seem like it's doing much at this point, which it doesn't. And again, I go right back into my Kyurem. And I think for a little while in this play, because, I still think clicking Fusion Bolt was definitely my best play. I don't think he would have been willing to risk his Landorus, because if he had at that point, my Mega Metagross just swept. Or, yeah, I mean, my Mega Metagross honestly just swept at that point, so he really couldn't risk his Landorus there. And, yeah, so I mean, I figured clicking Fusion Bolt was my safest play. Even if he did switch into Landorus, I could have switched into my own, again, walled it, and gotten some U-turn initiative off. But regardless, I click Fusion Bolt, and him being savvy doesn't want to risk either of his Pokemon, so he goes into his Jirachi, which I think was kind of a mistake because again, Jirachi was one of the Pokemon that did not get OHKO'd by my Mega Metagross, and now of course it does after that Fusion Bolt damage. But regardless, I can freely switch into my Landorus here, and he goes for his own U-turn. And I don't even remember what he goes out into. Probably his Keldeo. But, oh no, that's right. He actually goes into his Gardevoir to get the Mega Evolution off. And I decided to sack my Kyurem because it seems like the least valuable member of my team at this point. So I just let it drop to a Hyper Voice. And here I go into my own Metagross to get the evolution, the Mega Evolution off. And I think pretty long and hard about Bullet Punch versus Meteor Mash. Of course, Bullet Punch ensures that I don't take any chip damage. And it also ensures that it doesn't miss because it's guaranteed to kill this percentage of health for Mega Gardevoir. But I also kind of fear that he's going to switch directly into his Landorus, and I definitely need the chip damage, the 12% from Stealth Rocks and the, 25% damage from a... oh, actually, it would have been more than 25% because the Intimidate goes before a Mega Evolve, so the Clear Body blocks the Intimidate. So I would have done around like 35% damage plus the 12% from Stealth Rocks to that Landorus, which would have been very, very helpful. And honestly, it would have just ensured the sweep at that point as well. Oh, I have no idea what that is. I would have ensured the sweep there as well. So now that I think about it, I really had no reason to fear him going into Landorus. This was definitely a misplay on my part. I should have clicked Bullet Punch to keep the Metagross healthy, but at the same time, not clicking Bullet Punch here lures in his Weavile, which presumably he expected me not to have Bullet Punch, otherwise I would have clicked it this turn. So actually this misplay, I guess, ends up playing out in my favor, which is really unfortunate for Reverb, but it is what it is. He clicks his HP Fire, I click my Meteor Mash, and thank Judd, I do not miss. And again, he goes into his Weavile, expecting me to not have the Bullet Punch, but of course I do. And a Bullet Punch does OHKO at this range of health for Weavile. And yeah, I mean, at this point, he's in a really, really bad position. He goes out into his own Landorus, which, I just quickly switch out into my own, as I've been doing pretty much all game. I mean, honestly, at this point, I was really surprised that he didn't pull a double in the Keldeo. I was really afraid that he would have pulled a double in the Keldeo. Because that could have won him the game, honestly. If he had pulled a double in the Keldeo there, I really would have had to sack my own Keldeo, gone into Mega Metagross, clicked Zen Head. Well, I mean, I guess I could have still won, but it would have been a much, much, much more difficult game had he pulled that double. So yeah, but I mean, regardless, I still think switching into my own Landorus was the safest play there. He just clicked Stone Edge to try to get some chip damage on my Landorus, but I U-turn right out into my own Keldeo. And at this point, I can pretty safely just click Specs Scald, which does a sizable amount to his own Keldeo. And I do win the speed tie here, which was pretty helpful. I mean, a Specs Sacred Sword does not kill my Keldeo at 82%. Or if it does, it definitely has to be like a very, very high roll to do so. Because generally, you know, when my Keldeo goes up against other Keldeos, I get like 75% from a Sacred Sword. So it's probably like a very high roll in order for him to do so. So he would have had to win the speed tie, click Sacred Sword or Secret Sword, and gotten the high roll in order for him to knock out my Keldeo. But I mean, I am again very fortunate that the speed tie played out in my favor. Had it not, I could have revenge killed him with my Mega Metagross. And I definitely still would have had a very good chance of winning because, of course, his last two Mons were Landorus and Jirachi, both of which are walled by my own Landorus. But, I mean, again, like, having the Keldeo there to actually kill his Landorus was very useful. But, yeah, I mean, at this point, like, I pretty much won the game. He goes into his own Jirachi. I click one Spec Scald here to try to kill him. But unfortunately, he does get the flinch. So I quickly just switch right into my Landorus, just to get the Intimidate off, so he needs to get more flinches in order to win. And I just click U-turn again, because I know it's a pretty safe option for me. And, you know, like always, I U-turn right out into my Keldeo. And this time, finally, the Landorus drops to my Scald. And, you know, at this point, like, his only win con is just flinching me to death with hacks. But, again, I just go right into my Landorus to intimidate him, so he needs to get more flinches to win. And I go into my Metagross, and he gets the first flinch. Very, very frustrating. And then for the second one, he gets a crit. I was so afraid that would be a flinch, but thank Judd, it was not. And I click Earthquake and finally win the game. But yeah, guys, anyways, that was my game versus Reverb. I hope you enjoyed it. It was very fun. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the future. I'm definitely sort of getting back into OU. As you can see, right now I'm mid-ladder. I'm in like the 1600s for OU right now. So yeah. Also, definitely feel free to pass along any of your teams to me down in the comment section below as well. And yeah, I guess that's all for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed, of course, definitely feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe.